Hey, what's up you guys? It's your girl Judy here with My Life as Kikay. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you tips on how to save money. These are all tips and strategies that I myself have learned from personal experience. I know it's a little bit more of a different video, in fact, very different from makeup and what I usually talk about. But this topic has been on my mind for quite a while and I really want to share with you guys how my husband and I save money. Are you trying to save up to buy your first home or maybe your first car? Are you a low-income earner? Do you constantly have to keep an eye on your earnings and move around your budget and never able to relax with financial peace of mind? If that sounds a little bit like you, you might just want to keep on watching. Here's a little bit of a backstory of my husband and I's financial position. I'm a low-income earner, always have been. I work in the hospitality industry and everybody knows it's not the highest or most glamorous paying job. But I do enjoy it and I'm actually really good at it. After 10 years, who wouldn't be? My husband is also a small business owner of a dance studio here in our town. So to paint an overall picture, we're not exactly raking in the money. But here are tips on how we have been able to manage our budget, our incomes, be debt-free, and have financial peace of mind. Before I continue on with this video, I hope you guys consider subscribing if you haven't already. And also, to preface all the tips I've got coming up, the biggest thing to remember is that your income is your greatest asset. You've got to manage it wisely with all that you've got. Once you've got your income, you've got to spend it wisely. Because once you spend it here and spend it there and everywhere, it's no longer yours. You're never going to see it again. It's now become someone else's income. And now that I've got all that out of the way, let's start with tip number 1. You've got to establish your budget. Put some serious time aside. Sit down, either by yourself or with your partner, and work out what your necessary expenses are each week. That'd be rent, groceries, fuel, your internet, your phone usage. These are your recurring expenses. So remember that once you've got your income, it's already not all yours. So work out what your budget is. You know what your income is. Put aside your weekly expenses, and what's left is your budget, what you have to work with, to put aside in order to save money. And that brings us to number 2. That money that you have left, put that money aside. Like I said in tip number 1, when you've earned it, it's never all yours. You already know that you need to buy food, pay rent, put gas in the car, pay taxes. So with that money that's left, put it in a savings account. Or on the other hand, set up a direct debit. So a certain amount that you've set automatically goes into that savings account without you having to remember to do it each week. Once you've put aside your money for your rent and expenses, what's left, you don't even have to put all of that into your savings account. Just think of how much you could save if you didn't leave it in the easily spendings account and put it aside. And that way you know exactly what's left for you to work with for other expenses that might come up. Or whether or not you can afford that extra little treat that week. I always say out of sight, out of mind, and that's definitely true when you don't see that certain amount of money in your spendings account and have it in a savings one. Tip number 3, aim for a short-term savings goal. Even if it's 6 months, 1 year, I always find that I save more successfully when I have something to work towards, when I have a goal, when there's an end in sight. You know what your budget is, so always make these goals attainable. You can aspire, but be realistic, or you could end up feeling discouraged or defeated. Tip number 4, if you don't have the money, don't buy it. Taking out small loans to buy the newest and latest model of something is not going to do you any favors in the long term. Avoid things like Afterpay or even lay-by. Sure, there might be an advantage to the lay-by payment plan, but the temptation of having that item right now and then paying later could have the potential of getting way out of control way too quickly. And before you know it, you could have small debts here and there that could very easily turn into one large shopping debt. Tip number 5, plan for events. If you know you have an event coming up, like a concert, a show, a wedding where you need to spend the weekend away, or feel that you are obliged to give the monetary gift,
or even if you don't have an event planned,
set aside an amount for that each week. Whether it's $20, $50, small savings put aside are always less noticeable in your account than a huge chunk of money gone in one weekend, and all just due to poor money management. You're going to end up spending that money anyway, so you may as well put it aside once you know that you already have that event planned. Tip number 6, have an emergency fund. This can make all the difference. Having that safety net is definitely the price that you pay for having peace of mind. This is the amount that you'll put aside each week. My husband and I, for example, count this money that we put aside in our safety net as part of our expenses each week. And we make a point not to use that money because that's for our safety net. Whether it's $50, $100, $150, whatever you can spare, put it aside instead of spending it on eating out or junk food or some frivolous thing that you'll never get benefits from in the long term. The emergency fund is there for just that, emergencies. So when you do use it or take any money out from that, remember to always replenish it. Tip number 7 is actually quite easy. Save all your coins. I'm actually serious. Any loose change that you have, everyone's got them floating around in your bag, in the bottom of the car, in the corners of the bedroom, somewhere under the bed, or even those random bits and bob containers and baskets that you know. Everyone has one of them laying around the house. Take all that extra small change, put it in a cash tin, a flower pot, a piggy bank, and you know what? At the end of the year, you just might have saved enough to buy yourself an extra nice Christmas present. And it works, I know, because I've done it. At the end of one year, I had $300, all because I saved my extra coins. Tip number 8, don't just tap it, insert it. Now you get your mind out of the gutter. I know what you're thinking, or maybe it's just me. No, I'm talking about the utility of PayPass. When you tap your card, the money doesn't come out of your account immediately, which then when you check your bank account, gives you a false reading of what your account balance actually is. When you insert the card to make payment, the money shows up immediately as spent, and then you can keep better track of your expenses. And this applies especially for when you're going on shopping sprees, or those days when you feel like you just need a little bit of extra retail therapy. Because goodness knows I like to do that every once in a while. Tip number 9, use the 24-hour rule. This means before making a purchase, take 24 hours to think about it. Avoid trolling online shopping sites at 2 a.m. in the morning because everyone knows that you have a diminished sense of wise judgment at that time of the morning. So for me, the 24-hour rule would apply when I'm wanting to make purchases like, for example, a new camera, some equipment for my filming, maybe even a laptop, or a new makeup release that I'm really wanting to get in on. So not smaller expenses, but more of the closer to 100 to 200 sort of expenses. You gotta think about it first. I've done this many times where I've been doing some online trolling past midnight and I've put items in my shopping cart and then I stop and think about it and think, I'll continue this in the morning. I go to sleep. When I look at the shopping cart again, I think, oh, I don't need that, or that doesn't look as good, I can do without that one. Giving yourself time to think about these things before making the purchase will also allow you time to do some research about it, enabling you to make a wiser and more informed decision before you go and spend your hard-earned cash. Tip number 10, think in terms of how many hours an item would cost rather than how many dollars. As a low-income earner, I do this all the time, no matter what job you're in. Think of that difficult client, the rude customer, the workplace bullshit that everyone will inevitably face in one way or another. And so think to yourself whether or not this purchase that you're about to make is worth it. So for example, if you get paid, for example, $20 an hour, and you, meaning me, wants to buy $100 worth of makeup, I ask myself, is working those 5 hours really worth it? Is the product that I'm getting really a reward for those hours I worked? Will it give me joy? Will it give me long-term benefits?
And judging from my makeup collection, the answer is usually yes.
But if for you, weighing up the item to the hours that you've worked, and the answer is no, then you've got your answer. Number 11. This is one that I do all the time. Sell your unused items on Facebook or Gumtree. I periodically go through my unused makeup items and then sell them all together as a bundle. There are usually people out there like me who are willing to go and spend $200 on a bulk of something. Because bulk means savings, right? And then just like that, I have extra money that I can put aside for fuel or groceries that week, or even more makeup. Tip number 12. You don't always have to buy the newest and latest model of anything and everything. In fact, you don't even have to have brand names. We live in an age of consumerism, where there will always be someone else selling their lightly used 2-month-old phone, computer, car, maybe not car, which they will have to sell for a second-hand price, even if it's only lightly used. Op shops are always a great place to find lightly used, sometimes even brand new clothing at a discounted price. My husband and I buy a majority of our clothes from op shops, and we've even found some ripper deals. You just gotta know how to comb through the shelves. And when you're a budgeter like me, you learn pretty quick. Tip number 13. While you don't always have to have the brand new brand names of everything, don't buy cheap for cheap's sake. There's budgeting, and then there's investing. The husband and I wanted to buy a brand new vacuum cleaner, and one of us wanted to spend $100 on a cheap Target one. And the other one of us wanted to spend $380 on a Dyson vacuum. I'm not gonna say who wanted which, but after a bit of convincing, we finally ended up buying the $380 Dyson for a longer return in life and quality. That was a few years ago now, and it's still going strong. Here are a few other small random tips that I do on a daily basis. Take a packed lunch to work with you. Don't buy it out. Commit to eating out a fewer times each month so that when you do, it's more of a treat rather than a convenience. Compare prices when doing the grocery shopping. Usually price stickers will tell you the unit price. That way you can see what best bang for your buck that you're getting. And while we're on grocery, shop the sales. There's always sales. Don't get comfortable sticking to the one brand of this or that. Look for the sales stickers, and in the long run, that'll save you a bit of cash. So that's all my tips for today. My husband and I are debt-free, we own our cars, we are well on the way to being able to buy our first home. And these are all things that we both practice in our daily lives. So as someone being on the lower end of income earning, if I can do it, then so can you. It is possible to live within your means. We don't have very much, but we do have peace of mind of being debt-free and financially stable. And honestly, what price can you put on that? So that's it for today's video. I hope it was in the least bit helpful to some of you watching. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye. Just spat on myself. I can count, I promise. Advantage to the... Nah.